As One Piece approaches the climax, we'll analyze the truth behind Luffy's devil fruit with what was previously covered up by a huge assumption in the first chapter. Please note that this video contains spoilers for the One Piece chapter 1046. Please stop the video here if you haven't caught up yet. It was confirmed in chapter 1044 that the devil fruit Luffy ate was a Zoan-type, the Hito Hito no Mi mythical type model Nika. The most interesting thing about Zoan-types like these is that they have three forms. Zoan-type devil fruits each have a human form, a human beast form, and a beast form. But what about the Nika fruit? Hello everyone, we're One Piece fanatics! Today we'll thoroughly explain the three forms of the Hito Hito no Mi mythical type model Nika. With that, let's continue. What are Zoan-type devil fruits? Devil fruits are separated into three categories: power users, paramecia; manipulating natural elements, logia; and animal transformations, Zoan. In chapter 1044, it's revealed that a fruit Luffy ate was actually the Hito Hito no Mi mythical type Nika. Up until now, we thought that Luffy's fruit was a paramecia type, but now we know that it's actually a Zoan type. Our powers increase the more we train. Zoan is the strongest in close combat. Zoan types are known for increasing one's physical strength after eating them, which means the animal powers of Zoan-type devil fruit eaters enhances their human abilities. For example, attack power, agility, toughness, and defense. Zoan-types are often depicted as fundamentally possessing high combat abilities, and one of the most striking characteristics of Zoan-types are their three transformations. There are three Zoan-type transformations: human form, which is their normal appearance; beast form, which comes very close to the appearance of the original creature; and human beast form, which is a blend between the two. This means that Luffy, who ate the Hito Hito no Mi mythical type model Nika, should also possess three forms. Furthermore, among Zoan types, creatures of various models exist. Among these are extinct creatures like X-Drake's Allosaurus form, King's Pteranodon form, and Queen's Brachiosaurus form. As for the fictional creatures, we have Kaido's dragon form, Sengoku's Buddha form, and Marco's phoenix form. The extinct creatures are called ancient types, and the fictional creatures are called mythical types. And it's said that the more rare the devil fruit, the more its powers are kept secret, especially the mythical type Nika fruit, nicknamed the Sun God, which was so rare and dangerous that people bestowed the name God to it, and the world government fabricated its name to be the Gumu Gumu no Mi. It's quite possible that its hidden powers are completely different than the other Zoan types we've seen in the series. The three forms of Zoan types. We'll now move on to the three forms of the Hito Hito no Mi that Luffy ate. But first, we'll discuss the three forms of Zoan types, focusing on the appearance and combat ability and summarizing each characteristic. Human form. Characteristic 1. Appearance. This is their normal form, basically the appearance they were born with. An example of the human form would be Luffy or Pell with their typical human appearance, or in the Mink tribe, it would be Peckums with his typical mink appearance. The next is human form characteristic 2, fighting ability. Among people who have eaten Zoan-type fruits, there are many cases where their physical abilities surpass normal humans even while still in their human form. This form is often depicted as the weakest of the three, and after taking heavy damage in battle, they often revert to this form, their original form. To summarize, the human form is the person's normal appearance, and its combat ability is the weakest of the three forms. Beast form characteristic 1. Appearance. This is when they transform into an animal, each according to their fruit type. For example, Dalton, the king of the Drum Kingdom, who ate the Ushi Ushi no Mi model bison, as the name states, he transforms into a bison. And X-Drake, user of the Ryuryu no Mi ancient type model Allosaurus, transforms into a carnivorous dinosaur in his beast form. And in the case of mythical types, because they're fictional creatures, the beast forms are all drawn from Oda Sensei's imagination. But they're universally recognized to be very close to the original creatures. For example, when Marco transforms into a phoenix, which doesn't exist in real life, it's consistent with our universal image of what a phoenix looks like. Beast form characteristic 2, combat ability. The combat ability depends on the type of fruit, but this form is portrayed as the strongest of the three, the form a character enters when they're powered up. Also, depending on the fruit eaten, not only does one's physical strength increases, but they also gain animal-specific abilities. For example, Kaido's Uo Uo no Mi mythical type model Seiryu has the beast form of a giant blue dragon. Not only does his attack increase, but he can summon clouds of flame and use them to walk across the sky as though flying. The rare, ancient, and mythical types are thought to be more valuable due to these secondary abilities. The stats vary depending on the model, but we know that the user has increased strength and access to all the abilities of the animal. From this, we see why Zoan-types are said to be the strongest of the devil fruits when it comes to combat ability. To summarize, beast forms look exactly like their animal model, and in the case of fictional models, it matches their universally accepted appearance. The combat abilities of these forms are elevated strength and all the abilities of the animal. Human beast form characteristics. 1. Appearance. The human beast form is a transformation that uses a human base with animal characteristics. For example, Who's Devil Fruit, Neko Neko no Mi, Ancient Type, Model Saber-toothed Tiger. In human beast form, he walks on 2 legs, but has fangs and sharp claws like a saber-toothed tiger. Basically, it's a battle fighting form with different merits depending on the model. The 3 forms are supposed to be fixed and unchanging. The only exception was Chopper, who uses rumble balls to mix up the devil fruit wavelengths. However, there's also Marco, the user of the Tori Tori no Mi mythical type model Phoenix. He can be seen in chapter 554 transforming only his wings while fighting against Kizaru. And in chapter 995, when facing off against Big Mom, he transformed his wings and legs, looking slightly different from his usual human beast form. From this, we can reason that users can transform certain parts of their body, depending on their level of training. Human beast form characteristics. 2. Combat ability. Earlier, we said that a beast form has the strongest combat abilities. For example, when Rob Lucci, user of the Neko Neko no Mi model leopard, is in human beast form, having transformed his fangs, claws, and legs, he can still perform the special body technique Rokoshiki, which he learned as a human. In this way, the techniques that are strong in human form are further strengthened by the Zoan transformation. Power and speed are shown to greatly increase in this form. Also, with the ancient types, since they belong to the ancient species, little is known about them and users can take advantage of this, pulling off many tricky attacks. For example, Sasaki with the Ryuryu no Mi ancient type model Triceratops. In his human beast form in chapter 1019, he showed us his Heliceratops attack. Shockingly, his attack involved him spinning his neck around and around, an attack completely outside of the box. His devil fruit must be what makes this possible. By brainstorming unique ways to make use of one's powers, people can invent forms with genius abilities. Like with mythical types, they can retain all or maybe most of the abilities that they had in beast form. Kaido can use his fire breath or bolo breath even in human beast form. However, when he used his human beast form, it did not show him his ability to fly by climbing the sky by grabbing clouds. He's always in beast form when he flies in the sky. So we can conclude that he can't fly while in human beast form. So basically, the human beast form grants you a balance of all the human form abilities as well as some beast form abilities. Finally, let's summarize the characteristics of the human beast form. The appearance is a human base with animal traits according to the particular model. The combat abilities include some of the beast form's abilities. Generally speaking, it's the most balanced form. Investigating Luffy's 3 forms. From here, we'll consider Luffy's Hito-Hito no Mi mythical type model Nika and form a theory on what his 3 forms will look like. Among other mythical types, Yamato's fruit, which was also given the name God, the Ino-Ino no Mi model Okuchi Makami, might be a hint for us. If you're sharp, you might say that Sengoku's Hito-Hito no Mi model Buddha shares more traits with Luffy than Yamato does. Some people may wonder about this, so we'll have to sidetrack a bit and explain something about God and Buddha. God and Buddha have 2 big differences. When people pray, they say, "Dear God" or "Dear Buddha." In this way, they're both an object of faith. But the important thing is, God and Buddha are not the same. Buddha refers to the founder of Buddhism, but can also mean someone who has reached enlightenment. This means Buddha was once human and after years of training reached enlightenment. And a Buddha created as an idol to pray to is called a Buddha statue. Among these statues, the especially huge ones are called Daibutsu. This is the name of Sengoku's fruit. In contrast, the definition of God depends on the religion, but generally speaking, it's not something you can become through training. It's worshipped as an absolute. Furthermore, in Japan, since ancient times, the gods dwelled inside of nature and were called the 800,000 gods. And so, in One Piece, Nika is depicted as the sun god. And the Okuchi Makami is the wolf god that protects the country of Wano. Both are depicted as gods of nature and are fundamentally different from Sengoku's Buddha, that is, his Daibutsu form. Now, let's return to the main topic of Luffy's three forms. First, how should we classify Luffy's Gear 5, which appeared in Chapter 1044? Is it human form, beast form, or human beast form? Well, we think it's most likely his beast form. There are three pieces of evidence that support this. 1. The whirlpool-like hairstyle. 2. The heavenly robes made of smoke. 3. The breaking of devil fruit rules. We'll explain them in order. Evidence 1. The whirlpool-like hairstyle. Earlier, we mentioned that Yamato's fruit, Okuchi Makami, was a hint for understanding Luffy's Nika fruit, since they both were given the name God. The truth is, among the many Zoan-type fruits in the series, Luffy's and Yamato's are the only ones with the whirlpool hairstyle. In her human form, only tips of Yamato's hair are curly. But in her human beast form and beast form, her hair curls to resemble surging waves and whirlpools. These whirlpools are extremely similar to Luffy's hair when he's in Gear 5. Originally, whirlpools were believed to mark places where gods descended upon the earth, and Japan isn't the only country that attaches divine meaning to whirlpools. The ancient Celtic triple swirl, called a Triskele, was a holy symbol, and for the Celtic Christians, it symbolizes the Trinity. And interestingly enough, one of the whirlpools represents the energy of the sun. So we can see that One Piece also uses whirlpools as a divine symbol. Evidence 2. The heavenly robes made of smoke. Furthering our point, we see that among the many Zoan-type fruits, only Luffy and Yamato have this in their transformation. We argue that these fire-like and smoke-like jackets are heavenly robes, from Buddhism to be precise. Heavenly robes are depicted in Wind God and Thunder God, a famous Japanese painting from the Edo period, and they are often associated with the gods, which means that the appearance of these robes is evidence that they are in a godlike state. Evidence 3. Breaking devil fruit rules. As we know, Luffy ate the Hito-Hito no Mi mythical type, Model Nika. But despite this, Luffy turned the ground into rubber and reflected Kaido's Bolo Breath attack in Chapter 1044.
Since you're able to make your surroundings rubbery, it should be safe to say you awakened your Paramecia fruit.
That's right. As Kaido said in Chapter 1045, being able to transfer one's power into the surrounding area is proof of an awakened Paramecia user. In Chapter 544, Crocodile said this about Zoan-types.
Their abnormal resilience is their strong point.
Basically, no matter how you look at it, turning the surrounding area into rubber is not the sign of an awakened Zoan. It's almost as if Luffy is breaking the rules of awakened devil fruits. But who has the power to break these rules? Only the writer Oda-sensei, or perhaps something like a god in the series. And it's unclear, but was the thing that deflected Kaido's Bolo Breath really Luffy turning the surrounding area to rubber? At this point in the series, there are three possibilities. Let's take a look at Luffy's powers which deflected Kaido's Bolo Breath. Luffy's a Paramecia, and he has Nika's freedom-bestowing power. So the first possibility is that since Model Nika is a special devil fruit, and because it's a god, it's not bound by the usual rules. It's possible that, despite being a Zoan-type, Luffy can use awakened Paramecia powers. Of course, the chances that the Luffy really is a Paramecia are not zero. But it's hard to imagine with all these plot developments. We get sense that would be very unlike Oda-sensei after leading us to this conclusion with all the foreshadowing. From here, we feel there's one more possibility. That is, Model Nika's power is to grant fighting abilities only limited by its user's imagination. Kaido's bolo breath is basically fire breath, so even if you turn the ground into rubber, it should be physically impossible to make the fire ricochet. In chapter 1045, Kaido watched Luffy's fighting style, and then he ate him. Afterwards, Luffy's arms popped out of Kaido's eyes, punching through his face. Luffy fought freely, completely ignoring the laws of physics.
He's scored with Musashoku and Haoshuku Haki, and he can influence anything around him with his ability. He fights with such freedom, so versatile. I've never seen anything like it.
Based on what Kaido himself said after taking the attacks, Luffy must already be in Nika's beast form. Let's summarize what we know so far. First, since the Whirlpool hair and heavenly robes are the same as Yamato's beast form and human beast form, we can conclude that Luffy's Gear 5 is one of these forms.
I feel like anything's possible now.
After saying this in chapter 1044, Luffy used awakened powers that broke the laws of physics, carrying out feats he couldn't do before. From this, we can assume that Luffy has completed his Nika transformation and entered the beast form. Now, let's revisit once more the characteristics of the beast form. One's body completely changes into the animal of the devil fruit, and if it's a fictional animal, then it takes on the universal image of that creature. In this form, one has access to all the abilities of the animal and has the strongest attack power. It looks like Gear 5 meets all these criteria. Looking at the criteria one by one, and seeing that Japan has used whirlpools and heavenly robes for shrine crests since ancient times, it makes sense that Nika, who is fictional, will take on these universally recognized characteristics. Next, as mentioned before, since Luffy fought with a free mind, that fulfills the beast form requirement of using all the abilities of the animal model. Furthermore, Luffy himself said he was at his peak and used Busoshuku and Haoshuku Haki simultaneously. This fulfills the criteria for beast form by having the strongest physical attacks. On the other hand, since virtually none of the criteria for the human beast forms were met, we can conclude that Luffy's Gear 5 is his beast form. By the way, this is very off topic, but Luffy's Devil Fruit model is not a beast, but a god. Wouldn't it make the most sense to call Nika's transformation God form? Human beast form. Assuming that Luffy's normal form is the human form and Gear 5 is his beast form, what does his human beast form look like? We have two theories about this. The first is that Luffy doesn't have a human beast form. The second is that it's actually Gear 4. We'll explain both theories in detail. We'll start with the first theory that Luffy doesn't have a human beast form. Up until now, we've assumed that as a Zoan-type user, Luffy has 3 forms. But the truth is, there's a possibility he doesn't have a third form. To provide evidence, we must first explain what happened after Luffy ate the Hito-Hito no Mi. Currently in this story, there are 4 people who have eaten a Hito-Hito no Mi. Tony Chopper, whose model is unknown, from chapter 139, Sengoku's model Daibutsu from volume 60's Q&A, Onimaru's model Onyudo from the One Piece illustration book Vivre Card, and finally, Monkey D. Luffy's model Nika from chapter 1044. Among these, the only 2 who ate the Hito-Hito no Mi as humans were Luffy and Sengoku. Let's assume that Luffy's Gear 5 is his beast form. And though Sengoku did not declare his form type, we can assume his Daibutsu form from chapter 571 to be his beast form. As explained earlier, a Daibutsu is a giant Buddha statue, and we saw that Sengoku's transformation rival the size of giants. This fulfills the criteria that the beast form of fictional creatures must take a universally recognized form. This means that Luffy and Sengoku in their current stage haven't yet taken a human beast form. Normally, when a human eats a Zoan-type devil fruit, they gain a beast form. But in the case of the Hito-Hito no Mi, when animals like Chopper and Onimaru eat the fruit, they gain a human form. Now, if a human eats the Hito-Hito no Mi, then they simply gain another human form, so they might not get a human beast form. Of course, the mysteries of the devil fruits are still largely unsolved, and it's still possible that some sort of human beast form will appear later on. But as One Piece approaches the end, some readers think it's highly unlikely that human users of the Hito-Hito no Mi have a human beast form, since we've never seen it before. The second theory is that Gear 4 is Luffy's human beast form. Though we explore the theory that Luffy has no human beast form, there's another theory that he has already showed this form. Let's review once more. The human beast form's characteristics. It's a transformation with a human base and animal characteristics according to the model. It uses some of the animal's abilities, and overall, it's the most balanced of the 3 forms. Whether it's appearance or combat ability, when it comes to the human beast form, only some of Nika's traits are expected to manifest. And that state might just be Gear 4. There are two big reasons for this. One, the heavenly robes made of smoke and fire, and two, the fact that Luffy could use some of Nika's powers. We'll explain both of these reasons. We'll start with the depiction of the heavenly robes made of smoke and fire. Among all the Zoan-types in the series, since Luffy and Yamato's beast form showed heavenly robes made of fire and smoke, their fruits were given the name God. But Gear 4 is actually portrayed the same way. In other words, Luffy's Gear 4 could be seen as a god manifesting form.
That form, it's just like the Wisdom King.
In chapter 990, while facing off against the numbers, Luffy entered Gear 4 and was likened to a guardian deity in Buddhism. Let's suppose Luffy's Gear 4 is comparable to the Buddhist guardian deity. Then, more accurately, they aren't heavenly robes, but a blazing halo. Earlier, we explained how gods and Buddha are different. But, at the very least, Luffy was no longer a human in Gear 4. So, he was something very close to a god. Perhaps something between god and human. One might interpret it as a human beast form. Following this idea, we see Luffy using one of Nika's abilities while in Gear 4. After him, Python! In chapter 895, Luffy revealed Gear 4's Snake Man in his fight against Katakuri. Given the elasticity of Luffy's rubber, he repeatedly attacked with a trajectory that's physically impossible. And again, in the Kaido fight, Luffy's arm attacks were so impossible, it seemed intentional. This must be the freedom granted by Nika to break the laws of physics. Though Nika's powers are not fully available in Gear 4 as they would be in Gear 5, some abilities are available. Here, we will summarize Gear 4 once more. Highly Mobile Bound Man, Tank Man with a hardened defense, and Snake Man, which uses one of Nika's abilities. Since it allows one to transform according to the situation, you could say this form is the most balanced one. And now, using all of this as a foundation, let's compare it to the characteristics of the human beast form. It's a transformation with a human base, and only some of the animal's characteristics. Only a portion of the beast form's abilities are available, and overall, it's the most balanced form. Looks like it fulfills all these criteria. There's definitely a good possibility that Gear 4 is Luffy's human beast form. But which theory is true? We're sure we're not the only ones that can't wait to find out. How is our explanation for Luffy's Zoan-type devil fruit, the Hito no Mi, and its 3 forms? Be sure to leave a comment telling us what you thought of the video or share other theories about Luffy's 3 forms. We plan on making more videos on the amazing world of One Piece, so be sure to subscribe to not miss our next video. That's all for today. We'll see you in the next video.